We're here with Maria Connor, and we are talking about Polk Street. What do you know about Polk Street? What has it been? What was it in days gone by?
Well, when I moved here about 7 years ago, and I was married to a woman, genetic woman, living the technology suburban lifestyle, and I got divorced, and I moved here, and I didn't know much about San Francisco other than the fact that this was a place to go if you want to try some new things and have some fun and meet people. And it was a journey to me. I didn't know that there was a difference between a transsexual and a drag queen.
Right.
They're completely different. Like one's a mammal, one's a reptile. And so to me, I was lucky in that I ended up here on Polk Street. Although I was looking to be close to Divas because I heard about Divas, the transsexual bar, because I wanted to try something that was completely different after being divorced.
Yeah.
Right. And the beautiful thing was when I came here, I really didn't know much about Polk Street. I just knew about Divas. And I ended up in the place that was just right for me. I was just gonna experiment a little bit and kind of go do something that was completely different. I was first gonna move to Noe Valley. And I thought to myself, logically, I shouldn't go back to the same environment I was in when I got divorced.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try something different, didn't know anybody. And here on Polk Street, just walking down to Divas and some of the bars around it, I got to meet all these amazing people. I mean, it was such a different world, and just even riding on the bus.
Sure.
And just running into people I never would have seen.
Just wide swath of diversity.
Yeah, and me coming from the suburban, technology area, just thinking to myself, I never would have had the opportunity to connect with these people, and I'm looking at them just wondering what their life was like.
So here's somebody who obviously has something that they want to explore, something that could be considered pretty racy, maybe even dangerous, in a suburban environment or an environment that didn't already have some history of that. And so this is almost in while some people perhaps in the more suburbanite, more normal, which is not a word I like to use, world.
Yeah.
They can't even imagine this as being a safe thing to do. However, this is a haven in a lot of ways for people.
Yes, it is a haven, and I would say it was more of a haven when I first moved here.
Sure.
And the key thing to understand about what we do here, which is really expressing ourselves in alternative ways, is that everybody does it. They do it in the suburbs. I've been to parties in the suburbs. But the problem there is that if you go to a party in the suburbs, you're going to meet about 20 people, 50 people, whatever. If you're in the city, you're going to meet hundreds and hundreds of people.
Sure.
You have a market. You have a mixing of molecules. So I could never have become who I am without being here in San Francisco. Couldn't have done it on the internet. Could not have done it in the suburbs. Even if I went to tons of parties, I would not have had the volume of experiences that I had, the safety, the diversity. And that existed much more 7 years ago than it does now, unfortunately.
Sure. So tell me about now. I think that's a perfect segue. What's going on right now on Polk Street? What's going on in San Francisco in general?
Yeah, so I hear about a lot of things, I read about a lot of things, and I experience a lot of things. So let me talk about what I personally experienced.
Okay.
Right. So when I first came here, again, I'll go back to Divas, my favorite transsexual bar.
Yeah, tell us a little more about Divas.
Yeah, and the thing that I really
before we even go there.
Yeah, the thing that I really loved it is the transsexual bar in San Francisco. And the key thing about Divas is on the first floor you have, the classic bar, a lot of people hooking up, meeting, that kind of thing. You go to the top floor, it's a lounge, right? So it's where people sit and chat. So back when I first started coming here about 7 years ago, the people I would meet up there, the lovers of the trans world, the filmmakers from Sweden, the people from LA, the people from New York that just were curious.
Yeah.
The volume of people coming through there. I took so much joy in meeting straight people and just and interacting with them and making that the moment of their trip. And it was a moment of my trip as well. I was so proud to be able to share my experiences with them. They were so curious, and it was a lot of straight people up there. And then you had a dance floor on the third floor, which is for dancing. So you had a lot of the diversity. And if you compare that experience, where I would go over there, I'd meet so many people every night. It was packed on Friday and Saturday. Now it's dead. And the question is why? What has happened in 7 years? That market, that thermodynamic compression of molecules to create reactions doesn't exist anymore. And the only thing I could assume is that it's happening because of the internet. People are meeting, and I know this from what people tell me, is that people are meeting on the internet. But again, you can't meet 50 people in one night. You don't have a market, right? So you're not interacting, and that's the thing that really upsets me more than anything
it's not that connection, that relating isn't getting to happen.
Yeah,
Right.
again, it's not those molecules mixing up like
Right.
stirring a batter, you know?
It's just
That
the
kind of-
profile to the profile, and
Yeah.
does it match? Does it work?
Yeah, and the thing is,
Look at my Grinder app and see if somebody's
Yeah.
close enough by and fits the bill.
you meet them online. They're not what they appeared online. Most people take drugs before they get there because you're usually meeting in a bar. Very often they'll meet them at their home, so they want to take a lot of drugs because they'll be like, she'll do or he'll do or what, that kind of thing. Only because I want to get laid tonight, and this is the only person I'm going to get to meet. You know, everyone.
Yeah.
Now Grindr's even better, where if your first hookup doesn't work, you can go to your second hookup.
Wow.
You know, I think that's great. But you're not going to get 50 people. You're not going to
Sure.
be able to interact and have fun. It's very stressful. It puts you in the closet more.
Interesting.
It's very unhealthy, in my opinion.
So on the other side of that,
Yeah.
one of the other forces that I think might be at play here too is something that we've talked about a little today as well, is gentrification, right?
Yes.
So Polk Street, the whole city, in fact, is going through a certain degree of gentrification in areas that were once considered seedier or shadier, you know, by the normal set.
Yeah, definitely. Gentrification happens in every major city. I saw it happen in New York, to 42nd Street, and I liked going into 42nd Street and seeing all the skanky people around and all the colorful things. And then Giuliani turned it into Disneyland. Well, you know, I can go to Disneyland to see Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
So they lost something from New York. Now,
Sure.
people tend to look at things in a very binary way. It's like either they're skanky and naughty and they're all drug addicts, or they go to Starbucks and they're white collar people that all dress and look the same. There's nothing in between. Well, I don't think that that's true, but that's the way people see it. So what I see here is I see a lot of people spending money on clubs. They want to get rid of the seedy people,
Right.
because again they made an investment. You know, it's
Sure.
gentrifying. And so before, when I used to walk up and down Polk Street, there were a lot of straight people here, but I felt like I belonged. I liked walking. It's sort of like the lower Polk is where Divas is, and the Gangway and the Lush Lounge, and then the Cinch is all by itself up on upper, closer to Upper Polk. And when you would walk that 6 blocks, it's all these straight people.
Yeah.
And when I used to do it, it was fun walking there. Because people would say, "Oh, girls would come up to you, want to take their pictures with you." And again, I can only say this from personal experience. I walked up and down that street 100 times, so statistically, I have a pretty good, accurate statement. And now when I do it, it's so packed, and I hear things like, "Look at that fucking tranny," that kind of thing.
Wow.
Again, I don't feel, I feel sorry for these people.
Sure.
But this is San Francisco.
Right.
If San Francisco is losing its diversity, then what other city is going to maintain it?
Right.
And you can go to the Castro, but the Castro is a wonderful place, but it's very gay, and it's a hookup place. So from my perspective, I go to the Castro, and guys are looking to hook up, and they're actually very friendly. I mean, gay bars, the one thing I love about gay bars, I'm not looking to hook up with gay men. They're the nicest people. They're so fun.
Yeah.
They're intelligent. They're not, they want to talk to you. What a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's great.
But to have it only in the Castro, which is very gay-oriented, you're losing its diversity.
Certainly.
Well,
and you and I have talked in the past about that any healthy network has to have diversity to survive. It simply does. Otherwise, things get pushed in one direction or another, and an imbalance occurs, and it becomes unhealthy.
Yes.
So it's almost like the homogenization of this city is the very thing that could take it down.
I know, and the irony is the very definition of homo in the city has become something the opposite of what it is. And also, think about it like when I look at this from my point of view. I mean, I have my point of view. My point of view is that I didn't want to be in that suburban, matrix. I wanted to experiment and have fun and everything.
Right.
And I didn't really think I would stay there for very long. And next thing you know, 7 years goes by.
Here you are.
Technology by day, girl by night.
Right.
So I understand that there's many different perspectives. You got the perspective of the people coming in from the East Bay who want to meet other people, that sort of the 25-year-old hookup, and they're not interested in diversity and the queer community here. They want to hook up. Well, why does it have to be on Polk Street? Why can't it be in a place that was not traditionally like this?
Stick in the marina. That's
Yeah, go to the marina. Go to that kind of thing. And the sad thing is there are a lot of straight people who, especially women, because they admit it. I think men want it as well. The straight women, a lot of them love this world. A lot of straight men are interested in this world. I know that from personal experience, right?
Of course.
And to not be able to come to a place like this and experience that, to lose that, what are you losing? You're losing the curiosity. The worst thing in your life is to die curious. People fantasize a lot about seeing this or being involved. And once you do it, you enter a whole new level of experience. And if you don't do it and meet people, it just stays as a fantasy, and you'll live in that fantasy for the rest of your life.
Sure.
Always wondering what would have been like if I was with a tranny or met a tranny or a trans woman. Actually, the term tranny is used very often here, but I know it's a negative word places else. So I'm trying to honor that. Yeah. So again, our experiment with lesbianism, or just even meet some lesbians.
Sure.
You know, it stays a fantasy.
Right.
It's not healthy.
Well, it's in empowering yourself through whatever it is that you need to experience, right?
Yes,
It's being brave enough to take a step across the threshold and check something out that you've not done before.
Yes, right. And what a lot of people experience is, again, I think great relationships are relationships where we share these values, but we're different, and that's and that's what makes it compelling. So you lose the ability when what a lot of people do is when they go and experience, like my brother, for example, he came to a trans party of mine, and his reaction was like, these people are really cool. They're like regular people, and so I'm like, yes,
they're just like regular living, breathing human beings. What?
Yeah, and you see yourself in all these people. You see, when people say, "Oh, what you do is kinky." I said, "What I do is kinky? I was a lobbyist. I worked at, I was in the corporate world. You want to see something kinky? Go to Washington.
Yeah.
Go to politics. Go to New York and Wall Street. That's kinky.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
What they're doing. I'm not lying about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of
I like to say very often that drag queens and trannies, and again I mean that in the most positive, glowing light possible. It's an affectionate term for me. Are probably more real than most.
Oh my God!
It's straight folks that I've met in a lot of places. So
absolutely, it took me about 4 years to realize that I am okay for exactly who I am.
Yeah.
Exactly who I am. This community was so wonderful, and I'm not talking about the trans thing. I'm talking about having opinions, expressing myself. I'm a musician. I like to express my feelings. I like to talk about fun, crazy ideas.
Right.
And this community is so welcoming, and it took me so long to realize that I was so nervous, like being myself, and now finally, not anymore.
Shocker. You haven't picked up on that at all, had you? So, I have to ask you, this is taking things a little bit of a left turn.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me about Leisure Suit Larry.
Oh, my Leisure Suit Larry story. Yes, that's right. I remember, again, talking about fantasies. And I remember when Leisure Suit Larry came out, the modern version of it today would be virtual, what's the virtual world?
SimCity
or the other one, one of those ones.
Second Life.
Second Life, yeah, I did Second Life.
Yeah.
And, very, very common for people in Second Life who are men to become prostitutes and go down to the brothels because they really want to know what's it like down there.
Okay.
And I remember doing Leisure Suit Larry, I was like, this is back like 15 years ago or whenever.
I was Maria was just a little nugget.
Yeah, I was a single cell. And I was missing a chromosome back then. And so I remember going down there and fantasizing, what would it be like to check out this whole scene? Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, I came moved to San Francisco, 2 years into it when I'm doing here. Suddenly I realized, oh my God, I'm living in my Leisure Suit Larry fantasy.
It's happened. Here you are.
And the funny thing is, I thought that I just wanted to be like crazy. I wanted girls to look at me and go, look, you stop being like me. I wanted to go to, look at me, I am sexier than you, Because, I got divorced and I was mixed up in the head at the time. But what I found was that it was my relationship with women and people was so different than what I expected in the Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah.
They were so curious. I mean, more than curious, especially the straight men. More than curious.
Yeah.
Some of them were curious about the sex. Some of them were curious about the clothes. Some of them were like, so, where do you buy your stuff?
Right,
right. And I'm not talking about guys who are gay. I'm talking about, guys who are curious. I mean, if you're a man, you love women. I mean, I love women. I want to be a woman, but, there are so many guys that are curious.
Sure.
And it was a really wonderful experience to be able to see that. And I didn't expect that in Leisure Suit Larry.
And it's getting back to the Polk Street story, I think that part of what all of this conversation has been kind of getting to is that there's a real true desire to preserve that haven and to make that available, or at least have people understand that kind of haven can be available if we provide for one, right? So what do you think is going on? What do you think can be done to improve this situation or to move things on? I mean, I think we know that this gentrification isn't gonna stop. People aren't gonna suddenly go away because we said, hey, we were here first.
Yeah.
And it does need to be a diverse environment, so we have to all learn how to get along. What do we need to do?
The $64,000 question.
Yeah.
For $64,000, I could do wonders.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I need about 50. And a little extra money, during the recovery. So it'll be fun. Anyway, so that's a good question. The question, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what some of the factors are. I mean, one of them is certainly awareness.
Sure.
If there's any one thing, if I can only ask for the simplest thing,
Mm-hmm.
would be just an appreciation for what's happening here, for people to be aware of it. I mean, I don't, very often solutions start with awareness, right?
Right.
And that's the one thing. But if you go down to, we had Supervisor John Avalos on our show several months ago, and he brought the same issue. And then, he said he has some programs in place, and then he admitted, is this really going to solve the problem? It's
Right.
At the city level, can you have ordinances? I know they did this in the Tenderloin to say that there's only a certain number of licenses for new bars, or
Right.
that kind of thing, and you have to give money back to the community with taxes. There's probably some things you could do,
Mm-hmm.
but I really don't know what the solution is. I think if you have more awareness, if you have more marketing, if people who are coming to San Francisco, instead of going to Fisherman's Wharf, they can come to a drag show.
Right.
That could be happening at the Hemlock.
Way more entertaining, by the way, than a bowl of bread with some soup in it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. When we went, just to give you an example, we went down to Fisherman's Wharf to see if we can recruit people
Sure.
to a show. We at the time we didn't want to dress up in drags. It takes a lot of time, and I'm a trans woman, I'm not a drag queen. But handing out these flyers, people were looking at us like, no, stay away from us.
Right.
So he said, fuck this. Oh, can I say fuck?
You
Of
can
course
say
I
fuck.
can. We're
Yeah.
talking about it. I'm like, I should know that.
It's your show, huh?
I'm like, fuck this. We went and we hired a bus. We took the drag bus.
Yeah.
Let's do an experiment. Let's not talk about it. Let's take a drag bus, which was Dan's idea.
Yes.
Let's take the drag bus down and let's drive into Fisherman's Wharf and see what happens. Right?
Yeah.
Well, we have about 500 people total,
Yeah.
just swarming the bus,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if you if you're here for San Francisco for a week, go to Fisherman's Wharf, do your Lombard thing, and do the hate. But one of your nights, why don't you go check out a drag show?
Right.
Kind of thing. Why don't you go? I mean, you would be so much fun.
There is no kind of drag like San Francisco drag.
No.
Best in the world.
Yeah, the people you would meet, because once it goes away, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
The one thing, even though I don't know a lot about the Polk Street history, I don't know a lot about gay history in San Francisco, I do benefit from it, and I do really appreciate it.
Right.
This took years to develop. And it could be wiped out by Twitter and Facebook and technology money like that.
It's already been happening very quickly. When I was doing my research, I think I passed along that article to you from 2007, where people were complaining about the beginnings of this happening. And at the time, in the article, they listed a number of bars that are no longer there. They're simply gone.
Even the Red Devil Lounge has been there for 19 years. It's
Yeah.
closing down. It used to have
Closing
lots
down.
of eclectic music and things. So what we thought we'd do is we would do this little fun bit where we do the Polk Street Wars segment, where I walk down Polk Street and ask people about what do they think about what's going on here in Polk Street. And to my surprise, and this is really not a surprise in retrospect, was that the people that I interviewed, the young 25-year-olds, literally don't know about the history. My first emotional reaction was, fuck you kind of thing.
Right.
But in reality, when I get through my own stuff going on, why should they know?
Right.
You can't hold it against them.
Right.
Should the city be doing something? Well, the city's government. The government's driven by money.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that.
Right.
So the question is, the shop owners invest money. They're here to make money.
Right.
Gentrification to them is a way to make money. It's not a way to preserve culture.
Certainly.
Whose job is it to preserve culture? Do you know the answer?
Well, I think that's up to the perspective of the municipality and where it's happening. I know other cities have culture museums, and they have culture programs where they enjoy the diversity that they have, or they try to highlight the diversity that they have. So I'm sure that there are a lot of creative ways that, if the word got out to the right people that this opinion and this opportunity is here, there's probably an opportunity to figure out some solutions that maybe those of us who are too close to it can't think about.
Yeah, because if you're a queer person or a straight person or just a straight person, whatever, and you want to mingle with this world,
Right.
of all the cities, think about the cities in the world you can go to. Amsterdam, San Francisco, maybe Hamburg. There's a dozen of them or whatever.
Right.
And San Francisco is obviously one of the big ones, and it's probably one of the smaller ones, if not the smallest one.
Yeah.
Really, you don't want to meet people. You can't meet people on the internet. The internet is a wonderful opportunity to engage in conversations, to stimulate conversations, but at some point, to take it to the next level, there's so much noise.
Yeah.
And you can only physically meet people in limited quantities. You have to physically meet people.
Sure.
And San Francisco is a compression of all of this, and it's going to go away like that.
So we have
and
to
it
be
will
careful.
never come back.
So tell me about the what's going on October 19th with the Straight Bar Takeover.
So we're going to do a Straight Bar Takeover. So Chemo's was a traditional queer bar and trans bar. There was lots of diversity there, and they had shows upstairs. And it closed down and was taken over by a regular straight bar.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my emotional reaction was, fuck them, whatever.
Sure.
But again, thinking about it from their perspective, they may not even be aware of
Right.
what's going on. The owners may not even have any idea. It's just, to them, it's another investment. It's a blind investment. They may not even see what's happening. It's like the stock market. It allows you to invest in an oil company without even realizing it.
Right.
Because you have mutual funds and you complain about oil companies. Wait a minute, don't you own the oil company? That kind of thing. Right. So it's like they don't really know. So the idea there is to make a statement, to go in there and say, hey, wait a minute, Chemo's, this place was classic and it just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I understand why. I knew the owner of Marlena's, which closed down, and she was getting older, and she wanted to sell out and make money and retire.
Sure.
Who could blame her? And the owners of Chemo's, I think it was a similar kind of thing. So again, I don't blame them, but to me, it was like, raise the awareness. I'm not angry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel frustrated, but there's nobody to be angry at.
No.
That's the problem with going on in most of our world. Politicians are all in the take. We all know that.
Right.
The corporate money governs everything. We all own mutual funds. So we're the ones who are causing we're doing this to ourselves. And why are we not aware of it? Education. Do people even realize what a mutual fund is? Do they realize that they own the oil companies?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it? The educational system? Well, that's part of the government.
Right.
So to me, it's a way to share in the joy of people. The great thing about my experience is the joy of people from all different worlds. I remember seeing some people that I'm not sure what gender they were, that really turned me off. In my brainstem.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, to me that was all the more reason to go up to them and talk to them.
Right.
It was the most wonderful experience. Andrew and I went to a female to male transsexual party, and it was the weirdest thing. I mean, we felt a little uncomfortable, but it was the funnest thing because we had never done that before.
Right.
They were the coolest people. They were like, girls with guy sensibility or girls with guy sensibility. I don't know. It was a combination of everything. It was a wonderful experience.
Just great people.
Yeah.
Right.
So the key thing about this kind of march is, we're upset and everything, but we want to march with the values that are most important to us, with joy of sharing who everybody is,
Right.
and that's really the objective of it.
Excellent.
I just hope people show up.
Yeah. Well, I do too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Always a joy.
My mama said, leave Caledonia alone. I said, yeah, something ain't right with her. I think she's one of them transformers or something. I don't know. Something about that girl just ain't right. I didn't listen to what my mama said. I'm going to go on over to her house. I'm going to stay just